It was spring break, and I was in my second year of college. A group of 6 of us, close friends since freshman year, decided to rent a cabin in South Carolina for a few days to completely unplug. No school, no stress, no phones, just a quiet getaway where we'd drink too much, blast music, and make the kind of memories you laugh about later. There were 4 guys, me, Matt, Chris and Tyler, and 2 girls, Jess and Sarah. The cabin we found was surprisingly cheap for its size. 2 stories, wraparound balcony, 2 bathrooms, and according to the listing, set on private land near a lake. It was remote, miles from the nearest town and completely surrounded by woods. The owner had a thick southern accent when we spoke on the phone, and honestly, he sounded off. All he said was, "Don't go too deep in the woods. There's old stuff out there, old wells, busted fences, snakes. You could get lost." We laughed it off, figured he was just adding some southern horror flavor to the vibe. But when we got there, it didn't feel like a joke anymore. The drive was long. Our GPS died an hour before we arrived. The last stretch was just dirt and gravel, barely wide enough for 1 car. The trees got thicker with every mile. When we finally saw the cabin, everyone went silent. It didn't look like the pictures. Older, dirtier. Windows were dusty, some shutters hanging loose. There was a weird smell outside, like old garbage and wet wood. We laughed it off, said it had character. Unpacked, picked rooms, and started drinking by 7 p.m. The first night was fun. We grilled outside, played music on a Bluetooth speaker, and played cards. Around 11, the temperature dropped, so we moved inside. That's when I noticed how dark the woods were. And I don't mean regular night dark, I mean pitch black. The porch light barely lit a few feet ahead, and the trees felt like they were pressing in. No bugs, no wind, just complete silence. We all went to bed around 2 a.m. My room was downstairs next to the kitchen. Small, just a bed and a window facing the woods. At around 4:15, I woke up, no real reason. Felt like something had nudged me awake. My heart was pounding. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought it was the heater. But then it came again, same rhythm, not metallic, not mechanical, more like fingers. I looked at the window, and there was a man standing there, pressed up against the glass. Pale skin, messy hair, no shirt, just staring. His face was practically touching the glass, mouth open like he was breathing through it, big eyes not blinking, and slowly tapping like he was messing with me. I froze. The tapping got a little faster. I whispered Matt's name. He was asleep on the couch outside my room. Then a little louder. He woke up and said, "What?" I just pointed. He looked at the window and immediately jumped up, knocking over the coffee table. Maybe the noise scared the guy off because when Matt flipped on the porch light and ran outside, he was gone. Everyone woke up. The girls were shaken. Tyler said it was probably a drunk local. Chris thought maybe a hunter who got turned around, but I knew that guy wasn't lost. He was watching me. We locked the doors, shoved the couch in front of the big window, and took turns staying up. Nothing else happened that night. But in the morning, when we went outside, there were barefoot footprints all around the cabin. In front of every window, even under the tiny bathroom window upstairs. We should have left then and there, but we were stupid, stubborn. We stayed. The second night started off the same. Drinking, music, fire pit. but the vibe was different. Everyone kept glancing at the woods. Jess stopped drinking. Chris had a hunting knife on his belt. We locked every window, double-checked the doors. Around 3:30 a.m., Matt went to the kitchen for water. He stopped in the hallway and called my name. I got up. He was pointing at something. There was someone in the kitchen, the same guy, but this time he was inside, naked, with long raw scratches down his back. He was standing in front of the fridge like he didn't understand what it was. Swaying slowly, Matt backed up. The rest of us quietly gathered in the hallway. I had a pocket knife. Sarah had the fire poker. Chris had a broken chair leg. We flipped the lights on, and he was gone. Back door wide open, but not broken, just open. We were out of there in 20 minutes, no arguments, just grabbed our essentials, wallets, keys, phones, and left. As soon as we got cell signal, we called the police. We met a deputy at a diner near the highway. He wasn't even surprised, just asked, "Anybody hurt?" Then said, "Yeah, some folks live out in those woods. Ain't all of them right in the head." We told him this wasn't just some random drifter. He came back and got inside. The deputy just nodded, like he'd heard it before. When we mentioned the cabin owner, he looked like he knew exactly who we meant. A few days later, the listing disappeared from every site. We never got a call, never got our deposit back. No response, but that face, the way he looked at me through that window, I still see it sometimes when I wake up at night. We don't really talk about that trip anymore, and as far as I know, none of us have ever gone back to South Carolina. When I was a teenager, my family left California and moved to a remote area in northern Idaho. My parents had just retired and built their dream home right in the middle of the woods. No neighbors, just thick, endless forest bordering national parkland and logging areas. The house was massive. 2 stories, a gym, a bar and pool room, and a full-fledged movie theater in the basement. A dream home, quiet, peaceful, isolated. Or at least, that's what we thought. I was dating my high school girlfriend at the time. One night, my parents went into town for a date, and I invited her over to watch a movie. We were completely alone. I cracked open a beer, underage, but I figured nobody would care. And we went down to the movie room to watch Gladiator. At first, everything was fine, but around halfway through the movie, maybe close to midnight, I felt this sudden wave of unease, like my body sensed something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. My heart started pounding. I kept glancing at the big windows that faced the woods, pitch black, completely silent. I didn't say anything to my girlfriend, didn't want to freak her out. We even got a little romantic during the movie, but the whole time I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. When the movie ended, I walked her upstairs and out to her car. The house was silent. She left, and I realized I'd forgotten to turn off the lights in the bar, pool room, and theater. I went back downstairs to shut everything off. I turned off the movie room lights, and that's when I saw him. A man. Disheveled, messy hair, filthy clothes, looked like a total drifter, but what froze me in place was his face. That smile. Huge, deranged, and completely unblinking, his eyes wide, wild. In his hand, a knife. He was gently tapping it on the glass. At first, I thought maybe I was hallucinating. I backed away slowly and went into the bar area to turn off those lights. And there he was again. This time at the sliding glass door that led to the woods. Same expression, same knife. Just standing there, watching. He didn't try to open the door, just stared. I went upstairs without saying a word. Right as I got up there, my parents were walking through the front door. I said, "I think I'm losing my mind. I just saw a guy outside with a knife. He was staring at me." My mom's face went pale. My dad's eyes narrowed, and he stormed off to the gun safe, pulled out a rifle, and went outside. I asked my mom, "What's going on?" She said, "There've been break-ins around here recently. Someone trying to get into homes. Your description matches exactly." The police came and searched the area, but there was nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints. Just the cold, silent woods. The story should have ended there, but it didn't. That night, when I went to bed, my room was right above the movie theater. I started hearing the faintest sound. Tap, 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 like metal on glass. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, but it kept going, for hours, almost every night after that. Sometimes it stopped. Sometimes it started up again at 3 a.m. One night, I even heard footsteps on the roof. Winter came and my parents left town for a few days. They were nervous about leaving me alone, so they gave me a shotgun before they left. We also had a massive Rottweiler, usually sweet and quiet, but terrifying when provoked. One night I heard heavy footsteps in the snow outside, slow, deliberate. My dog stood up, ears perked, staring at the door. Then he growled, loudly. Then he barked, deep, loud, non-stop barking. He only did that when someone was actually there. I stayed still, totally silent, hoping whoever it was wouldn't realize I was home. Then came a knock at the door. Slow, hollow, like they were toying with me. I didn't open it. That night, I slept with the shotgun beside me, curtains drawn, dog by my side. In the morning, I went outside, and what I saw nearly made my heart stop. Fresh footprints in the snow. Human. They circled the entire house, pausing at every window. Like someone was searching for me. I followed them into the woods. They went deep, at least half a mile, then started to scatter in odd patterns like they were trying to throw off anyone tracking them. I turned back. My gut told me not to go any farther. That night, the tapping returned, louder this time. I was sure it was him. I grabbed the shotgun, opened the door quietly, and stepped onto the second-floor deck. I flipped on the backyard lights. There he was again. Same guy, same twisted grin, same dead eyes. Knife still in hand. I shouted, "If you don't leave, I'll shoot!" He didn't move, didn't flinch, just stared. So I fired into the air. That finally did it. He staggered a little, then slowly backed into the woods, eyes still locked on mine. That's when I let the dog out. He bolted down the stairs and out the sliding door like lightning, barking and growling like I'd never seen before. He had a shock collar, so I knew he couldn't go too far. But I hope to God he scared that man off for good, because after that night, I never saw him again. When I was 12, my mom started trusting me enough to leave me home alone. This story happened around that time, back when walking alone at night didn't scare me. That's probably why my parents felt it was okay to leave me by myself at such a young age. Even today, I still live with my parents in the same house. The night I'm talking about was a weekend. My parents were going out and decided to leave me home alone. When we were younger, our grandparents used to babysit us, but my older sister wasn't home that day, and since I was grown up enough, they figured I could handle it. My parents had me when they were pretty young, so they were always more active and social. They often went out on weekends or traveled. That night, they left me some money to order pizza. For a 12 or 13-year-old, it was the perfect night, home to myself, video games, and pizza. I was obsessed with James Bond games and was playing Nightfire on my PS2 for the third time. After finishing a mission, I ordered a pizza. There used to be this place nearby called Gianni's. Now it's closed, but back then it was our go-to pizza spot. I ordered a simple pizza. At that age, I could easily eat 3 slices. Mom told me to wrap up any leftovers and put them in the fridge. While waiting, I started another game. When the doorbell rang, I grabbed the $20 bill and headed downstairs. My mom had told me to give a $4 tip since the place was just 3 blocks away. The delivery guy looked like he was in his 30s, kind of scruffy, with a long, messy beard, glasses, and a black trucker hat. When I handed him the money and he gave me the pizza, he looked past me into the house and asked, "Are you home alone?" The question instantly felt off. My parents had taught me to be cautious with strangers. I replied, "My parents are on their way," which, thinking back, was a stupid answer. I could have just said no. I went into the kitchen, ate 3 slices, wrapped the rest and put it in the fridge. Then I headed upstairs to play Agent Under Fire. A few hours passed. It must have been around 11 p.m. when the doorbell rang again. I assumed it was my parents, so I went downstairs and called out, "Mom? Dad?" But instead of their voices, I heard a stranger say, "I need help." I asked, "Who is it?" He said again that I needed to make a phone call. I didn't want to look through the window. I was already scared. I ran upstairs immediately. I knew opening the door could be a huge mistake. As I started climbing the stairs, which faced the front door, the man banged hard on it and said, "Wait, please, I need help." He could see me, probably through the glass panel above the door. I glanced down and saw a shadowy figure in the dark. I bolted upstairs and ran into my parents' room where the phone was. I called my mom. I could tell from her voice that she had been drinking a bit, but as soon as I explained, she sobered up immediately. When I told her the pizza guy might have figured out I was home alone, she sounded even more worried. Then the doorbell rang, twice more. My mom told me to stay in the room, lock the door, and that she was calling the police. That's when I heard something outside. The gate on the side of the house creaked. Someone was heading to the backyard. My mom said, "Don't make a sound." Then I heard footsteps inside. Someone had entered the house. I told my mom, and I think she yelled something to the police. She told me to hide under the bed. It was the scariest moment of my life. I heard the intruder walking around, checking my room and my sister's, then stopping outside my parents' bedroom door. He jiggled the doorknob and knocked without saying a word. When the door didn't open, he walked away. My mom told me not to move. I didn't even breathe. Then she said the police had arrived, but even then she told me to stay put. A moment later, I heard an officer calling my name, saying he was with the police. Only then did I unlock the door. There were 4 officers, 2 upstairs, 2 downstairs. They didn't force their way in because the back door was wide open. so was the back window. That's where he had broken in. I told the police everything, especially about the pizza guy. My parents were still on the phone. The next night, we went to Gianni's so I could see if I could recognize him. He wasn't there. The manager said a guy named Phil matched my description, but he was quick to defend him. Phil would never do something like that. Then he basically told us to leave. My parents were furious, and they said they'd never buy anything from Gianni's again. We waited in the parking lot for an hour, but Phil never showed up. Maybe the manager had warned him. My parents even spoke to a few lawyers, but they all said the same thing. There was no real proof. The case was too weak. We never ordered from that place again. And for a long time after that, my parents never left me home alone. In my opinion, it had to be the pizza guy, or someone working with him. He was the only one who knew I was alone that night.